a big question on a lot of people's minds is, are employees going to be able to continue to demand these higher wages? Are employees going to be able to continue to demand this high level of employee benefits where they're getting reimbursed for Pelotons? Who's winning this battle? Because unless you've been living under a rock, the stock market hasn't been doing too great. Cryptos aren't doing too great. There's all this talk of a recession.
Hi, my name is Melissa DeWeese, and I help my clients get more efficient with their employee benefits
To attract and retain top talent. And today I want to go over some human resources news with you. We're seeing employees asking for shorter work weeks, work from home situations. Employees do not want to have to drive to work. I mean, I can't really blame them. I know I certainly don't want to go into an office at the present moment with gas at $7 a gallon or whatever the current average is. I think the last report was $5 a gallon across the entire United States was the average cost. And one way to sidestep some of these costs is obviously with staying at home more, not traveling as much, not driving 2 hours into the office once a week or even twice a week. Please, right now it's summer. A lot of kids are at home for the summer. It just turns into more of a pain in the ass. A lot of these admin positions are really pushing for a full-time work-at-home situation. So looking for 4-day-a-week work schedules, which I have certainly seen in the past. I mean, there was a big push for this about 10 years ago. Let's take a look at a couple of articles together and see what are employers saying, what are employees saying, who's winning this battle. Unless you've been living under a rock, the stock market hasn't been doing too great. Cryptos aren't doing too great. There's all this talk of a recession. A big question on a lot of people's minds is, are employees going to be able to continue to demand these higher wages? Are employees going to be able to continue to demand this high level of employee benefits where they're getting reimbursed for Pelotons in a work at home situation? Are they still going to be able to demand 4-hour work weeks? Are they still going to be able to demand working from home 5 days a week? So employees have had a lot of demands over this last year or so. We had the Great Resignation, the Great Reshuffle. We're seeing a lot of employees moving around, a lot of top talent moving around. I think what we're going to find at the end of all this, when this all shakes out, is that it depends. Employers that have a lot of employees that are making things, welding, manufacturing, when they're physically making items in facility like manufacturing or in restaurants, there's still a demand for in-person going into a physical location like grocery stores. Certain retail moved more online. However, there's still this segment of our small businesses that are demanding employees come into the office for the most part. And these are the employers that may be moving to more robotics, maybe moving to more automation, but they're just not there yet. They're still competing with these really, really big companies, and maybe they have a niche within a niche and they're doing quite well or have been doing quite well. They may be investing in some robotics, some automations, but it's a big cost, it's a big upfront cost. So it's a slower process to do that and transition over. And a lot of these employees do have to go into the office or into a facility. They have to be on site. So we are seeing that. We are seeing this push to 4-hour work weeks, results-based compensation, results-based management of the employee. If the employee is getting these tasks done and these projects done and moving the ball forward and they're more efficient with their time, they have more flexibility with their day. And that takes a lot of systems, and not a lot of systems. It takes a system. It takes perhaps a new system an employer has to implement to help manage their employees during this transition. It is different managing an employee when you get to sit down with them or you get to physically walk into their office and check on them on a regular basis. And it does take a little bit of a mind shift, or quite a bit of a mind shift, for managers to be able to manage their employees and projects and tasks over the interwebs. So making sure employees have a place where they all check in. You can still do your huddles. You can still see whose birthday it is. You can still stay up to date on what's going on in your work culture. That comes from the top down. That is important to the CEO, the management. And that is going to trickle down to middle management, and middle management is more likely to be able to handle that company culture in a more consistent way. The president and the CFO and the C-suite are really championing, cheering on. If they're really cheering on employee engagement and they're sincere about it. So you know that this is based off of my experience. This is based off of just what I've seen talking to employers. Some of this stuff I say is purely based off of my experience. And then what I like to do is look out on to the interwebs and see what articles are saying, what benchmark reports I can find, and if it's just perhaps my clients and the people that I'm attracting to be my clients, or if this is happening on more of a macro level. Is it my little micro world, or is it happening on more of a macro basis as well? Okay, so this is Yahoo News, and human resources crisis, staff shortages, moves community action to 4-day work week. Reducing the work week from 5 to 4 days was one of the options to address the staffing crisis for this action committee, said James Fox, and CEO, president of this agency. If changes weren't made, it would continue to bleed veteran employees without attracting new hires. With fewer staff, services like Head Start, preschool program classrooms would close in the fall and accept fewer students. I call it human resources crisis. Recruitment is a big issue, but retention is the biggest problem. One thing that can really spiral out of control if it's sales and retention in sales and attracting and retaining new clients. It can also happen with employees. If you are really good at attracting employees and getting employees onboarded, but the ongoing employee experience and the culture doesn't match that original sales pitch that you gave to that employee, you're going to have high turnover. And high turnover means higher recruitment costs. I mean, if you've ever talked to a headhunter or recruiting agency, you know it is not a cheap service, and that those services are not getting less expensive. And a lot of people will say, well, this is nothing new. Or the person that the article interviewed says that they had issues before the pandemic. They had a shortage of mental health workers before the pandemic. And since the pandemic, they've continued to see less and less people go through these mental and behavioral health courses and schooling to get certified or to get a degree to be able to do these sorts of services. They've seen a decline of qualified applicants in the behavioral health space. That's been a trend even before the pandemic. And now because of the pandemic, or in alignment with the pandemic, there were more people seeking mental health services because of an increase of anxiety and depression, like I talked about in this last video, linked here. All right, and this here says nearly 82% of 68 behavioral health agencies found it very difficult to find employees between August and October of 2021. The staffing shortage and increase in demand has resulted in increased wait times. The study published in 2021 showed a 353% increased demand for behavioral health treatment between 2013 and 2019 at these agencies. The largest increases were in adult and youth mental health and crisis services, followed by adult substance use disorder programs. In 2021, wait times had largely increased at these agencies. 30% of the agencies reported that wait times increased a lot for adult mental health, and nearly 35% reported increased wait times for youth mental health services. And a work-life balance at a fun workplace is among the top priorities to attract and retain new hires, but a 4-day work week remains out of reach. So it puts them in a precarious situation. They really want to attract and retain top talent. And a lot of it, these employees, this smaller pool that they're pulling from of qualified talent, really are preferring the 4-day work week. But they have extended wait times. They have more customers than they can treat. So those customers are having to wait longer for services. If you have to take your services from a five days a week to 4 days a week, that's less time to treat those patients. I don't know what the solution is. I know that a lot of telemedicine services became available once the pandemic hit. There were some regulations and laws that were tweaked to allow doctors to work across state lines, which does include mental health. So companies like Teladoc are now able to treat patients even with mental health across state lines. So if you have an employer that does have a telemedicine service, it is really highly likely that you can at least talk to a counselor or a mental health professional over the phone while you wait for something like this, an inpatient service. And just to follow up on what I was saying before, there were worker shortages before the pandemic. So here is another article here just confirming that a worker shortage already existed for most industries. The pandemic just made it worse. So let's see if they give any examples here. So we're talking about restaurants, food places, healthcare facilities. And like I said, I've seen it in certain segments of manufacturing. Nursing facilities have been short-staffed, the article says. In Ohio, there were nearly 193,000 openings with 44,000 available in healthcare. So we are hearing things like Cedar Point offers $20 an hour. So this company is saying we're offering $20 an hour. Or we see Amazon and Walmart or whoever offering $15 an hour or more. And then our members have really a lot of difficulties competing with that. These entry-level positions are difficult to fill because entry-level positions at Walmart and Amazon are starting at $15 an hour or more. What started as an increased COVID-19 hazard pay at $15 or $18 per hour is becoming a common starting wage at nursing facilities, he said. That's up from $12 an hour. This article is really focusing on unemployment in Ohio. The unemployment rate, you can see, just plummeted. It went up to 16% in 2020 and then plummeted down to this 4% to 5% range here. So the job hiring website reported a 76.6 jump in manufacturing postings compared to the pre-pandemic baseline of February 2020. Manufacturing employers posted 5.4% more jobs in May. So this Manufacturers Association in Ohio regularly hears from manufacturers that employment holes go unfilled. In healthcare, competitive wages in other industries or jobs attract would-be employees. So they're really trying to compete for those jobs in healthcare. Healthcare struggled to fill holes in 2019. But this was especially true in the restaurant industry, which was largely affected by lack of immigration reform. Immigrants that come to this country, they want to work hard, so they stop at the restaurant because there are no real barriers to having a career at a restaurant. In 2019, foreign-born workers were nearly 6% more likely to work in the service industry than native-born workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So they're seeing some of these employees being gobbled up by Amazon and Walmart and some of these bigger retail chains that have learned to take advantage of the online environment and continue to start employees at 15 plus an hour. One thing I'm seeing employers ask for is more software, more ways to connect with their employees on the internet or intranet, or in a way that they can get to their employees through their computers without having the employees having to come into the office, trying to increase efficiencies and results-based compensation. So we're seeing this huge investment in software, actually, and systems. And there's new software and systems out all of the time. And staying up on it is quite the job here. This article addresses that huge investments are being made in technology, in human resources. We're seeing human resources interact with IT departments more than ever before, especially since the pandemic, in these at-home work environments. Employers are reducing overhead by reducing their footprints. They're reducing costs through real estate and building rentals and things like that as much as possible. So huge investments from key players are being made in technology. So the HR technology market size worth $38.36 billion globally by 2030 at 5.7%, verified by market research here. So huge investments from key players in the development of new software and solutions in order to optimize business processes and attain cost reduction in some of the factors that lead to human resources and the technology market. Unfortunately, a lot of the software and technology and payroll and HRIS and insurance is extremely cumbersome. It's old technology. In some cases, it's pretty ridiculous. And fortunately, we're seeing some new companies come out, giving us some great platforms to use that aren't any more expensive than these older dinosaur platforms, which is great news. Unfortunately, some of these human resource departments are a little bit slow to make the transition. People feel very guarded when it comes to payroll and employee benefits. They want to keep it as status quo, as consistent as possible, and it makes them feel secure. It makes their employees feel secure if payment processing, payroll, and employee benefits are as consistent as possible. However, with a lot of these technologies, it is an investment. It is an investment of your time. So getting rid of an old system and putting in a new one does take a couple of months. It's a project put forth by your administration and human resources department. So there is an investment in time. However, what I've seen is that over the first year, you get back that time tenfold. And using these systems, making communications consistent, checking in with your employees, making sure your employees are aware of the benefits they have access to their benefits information 24/7. So your HR isn't constantly having to answer the same question over and over and over again. They can direct them to a place where the employees can download the information themselves. Putting that power back in the employees' hands is really, really a great idea. And thank God we're seeing more and more employers adopt these new technologies. This verified research recently published a report, Human Resources Technology Market, performance management, blah, blah, blah. The technology market size in human resources was valued at $23.32 billion in 2021 and is projected to reach $38.36 billion by 2030, growing at a steady rate of 5.7% from 2022 to 2030. And here is a visual just showing in 2021, it's at $23.32 billion, and that is expected to increase to $38.36 billion in 2030. Now, there has to be a reason why employers are investing this much money in human resources technology. So let's define some of these terms. What do they mean by HR technology? They're talking about payroll management, talent management, recruitment, workforce management, and Most of this is happening in North America. The second is Europe, then Asia, then the rest of the world. By end-use industry, so most of the people that are moving towards this technology are healthcare, information technology, so IT, BFSI, and the public sector. Key players, so the 4 top companies that are acquiring these new clients are SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, and Ceridian. There are certainly others. So you've got most of the time it has to do with payroll management, then performance management, talent management, recruitment, workforce management, and others. So this is just the human resources market size and forecast. So human resources market size was evaluated to be $18.13 billion in 2021 and projected to reach $43.34 billion in 2030. So you might be asking, what is integration and deployment? What does that mean? And here they're basically saying that was the number one area where human resources is using these technologies. And the factors can be attributed to the growth in demand for implementation of new HR management systems, or integration of new systems with existing systems at the workplace, and they are accelerating the demand for integration and deployment segment. The integration and deployment segment holds the largest market share during the forecast period. Integration and deployment permit organizations to visualize and assess data for better decision making. They want to make better decisions around their human resources and employee management. And then we've got task management. So task management here, $8.24 billion in 2018, and it's supposed to grow 14% from 2021 to 2028. And this is showing it's going from $2.78 billion in 2020 to $8.24 billion in 2028. So the growing needs of these enterprises to centrally manage and track tasks are expected to drive the task management software over the coming years. Also, the need to promote collaboration among teams and improve workforce utilization expects a boost to the market in the coming years. Recent advancements in the areas of AI and ML and integration of task management software with other third-party tools and opportunities for the market. Departments that are seeking these kinds of resources are marketing. Let me move myself out of the way here. So we've got marketing, human resources, finance, and other departments. So we're continuing to see HR gravitate towards more software and get organized and make sure that they have all of their systems integrated. We also see labor shortages in certain industries. There's a lack of qualified applicants for certain job positions like healthcare. We went over the healthcare and behavioral health, mental health services, and manufacturing today. Thank you for sticking around. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Make a comment down below. What do you think is happening? And we'll see you next time.